Hey everyone, welcome to Untitled Woodworks. In this video I'm going to show you how I assembled my Dust Deputy Cyclone and built a cart for it as well. I won't get into too much detail about how the Cyclone is assembled. Everything comes pretty much laid out in the instructions with the Cyclone itself. Pretty much you just trace an outline for the lid, screw holes as well, connect the dots, find the center point, and then cut out the middle piece and assemble it to the lid itself with the screws and bolts that it came with. I might have said it in the directions, but definitely don't over tighten these. If you do, it kind of warps the seam of where the Cyclone meets the lid. So definitely tighten them, but not over tighten them. That's pretty much it. Attach the shop vac hose to the top and then the other hose to the side. Turn on and Bob's your uncle. Now it's time to assemble the cart. I first took the shop vac and put it on my piece of plywood just so I can get an idea of the rough dimensions and kind of how I wanted it to look. And this is the design that I settled on. Again, very simple, where I have those two frames supported by a few stretchers with some plywood as the base for the shop vac and then also for the bucket on top. So I actually made the design in SketchUp after it was already built, so now I'm just kind of measuring out a rough idea of how long I need to cut the 2x4s for the frame and the stretchers. This step is completely unnecessary. You could begin assembly right after cutting out those pieces of 2x4s, but I just recently got this new jointer, so wanted to test it out. And then took those pieces to the planer to get the same thickness. Back to the joiner to flatten out one of the edges so I can reference that against the fence of my table saw. I just decided to go with pocket hole joinery to create the two frames for the sides and then also to connect the stretchers to each of the frames. I'm going to set everything up on the piece of plywood just to get an idea of how long I actually needed those stretchers to be. So I'm here just marking out the actual final size and then take those over to the chop saw to cut the final 3 pieces to their exact dimensions and length. And here I'm just cutting down the plywood base to its final size. And same with the top. I'm pre-drilling a couple holes here to attach the bottom to the base with some wood screws. Off camera I cut out these little spacer blocks for the caster, so now I'm just marking off the holes and then I'll attach those with some screws as well. So the idea here was to take a piece of plywood and attach it to the top, and this is where the drum is going to sit on top of, but I didn't want it just to rest on top because obviously it would, easily fall off the side. So I thought about drilling, making a hole for it in the middle, and then that way it can kind of sit inside just a little bit and actually give a little bit less height to it so I can put it in the spot that I wanted to in my workshop. I went with a hinge to secure the plywood top to the base, and the reason for that is because I cut the stretchers a little bit too short and the shop vac actually doesn't fit through the front of the cart with the lid on, so I needed a way to secure the top but also be able to remove it to access the shop vac when I needed to empty it. And that's it. Again, super simple build, nothing complex. I just needed a way to house my shop vac, drum, and cyclone in a specific spot in my shop, and this design worked perfectly for my needs. Thank you again for watching. I hope you got something out of this process. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. I'm fairly new to woodworking, and if you are too, go ahead and subscribe. My goal with this channel is to provide content for those beginner and hobbyist woodworkers looking for new project ideas and tips and tricks that I've learned when starting out. So, my name is Tim, this is Tognachi Woodworks, and I'll see you next time.